Hey everybody, welcome to the Sports in the Mitten podcast, powered by Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor. I'm your host, Adam Biggers, Michigan and Michigan State beat writer for FanRag Sports. It's Sunday, September 24th. If you're a Michigan fan, you're pretty happy with the way that things played out in West Lafayette yesterday afternoon against Purdue. If you're a Michigan State fan, you are probably upset. You might not even be awake yet. We're approaching the noon hour. You may not be awake, and when you do wake up, you're going to hope it was kind of a bad dream. Notre Dame all over Michigan State last night. I was in East Lansing for that one. I'll have a piece coming up today on FanRag Sports. Shawn Michaels says, Adam, Shawn Michaels in the room. Since we have the first question, I'm going to get in this browser so that way I don't have to lean up toward everything. But real quick, guys, before we start the show, I want to remind everyone, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Follow FanRag Sports at FanRag_U at FanRag Sports, FanRagSports.com. And you can follow the podcast at Mitten Sports MI. Search us on Facebook, Sports in the Mitten. We're also on iTunes and Google Play and the FanRag Sports Blog Talk Radio channel. Sean Michael, Lewerke or Maryland's third string quarterback? Not answering that question for you, Sean. I'm sorry. Not this morning. Demario Vaughn said State looked bad. Yes, Michigan State did. So I'm going to leave it in your guys' hands. We could talk about Michigan-Purdue for a little bit, or I know the Michigan fans in here are really interested now in the Michigan State game last night against Notre Dame. It was a complete S show, really. And if you look at the stats, this is a game that Michigan State would usually win. This is a game that any team would win if you look at the stat line. I'm looking particularly time of possession, 34:03 to 25:57. Michigan State total yards, 496 to 355. Through the air, 345, 173. 151 to 182 in rushing yards. Notre Dame outrushed Michigan State a little bit, but Michigan State couldn't run the ball. Michigan State had trouble tackling. Michigan State had trouble doing everything, really. Other than that, in the first quarter, after Lewerke threw that pick six, he broke off a 52-yard run. He can run. He could throw. He just it was some decision making last night, and of course the Michigan State defense just really had a tough time with the Irish. So, Tatenda Zinyemba, hopefully I said that one right. Tatenda, do you think O'Korn's performance was enough to solidify a starting position? No, I still believe that Wilton Speight is a starter. John did what a backup's supposed to do, but John did go above and beyond, I think. I thought that O'Korn was fantastic, and although that you guys understand where I come from on the Wilton Speight thing, I believe that Jim Harbaugh made the right decision. I believe that Wilton is the starting quarterback and gives Michigan its best chance to win. But you can't deny the fact that John looked better than Wilton has really at any point this year. And just looking at his stat line, 18 of 26 for 270 yards, a touchdown and one interception. But at the same time, I thought the most impressive quality about John was the way that he could duck and dodge sacks. He looked poised. I mean, there were a couple times where I really thought that he was going to get his head taken off, and I tweeted so. And sometime, it was crisis averted. And next thing you know, Michigan's going 11 plays for 86 yards. It was capped by that 10-yard touchdown by Chris Evans. And I thought that was a great drive. I thought that Michigan's offense looked a lot better in the second half. It gave us some glimpses of what this offense can be when it's running smoothly. And for those of you, like I said, everybody was wanting to hop on the Peters train, bench Wilton, get Brandon Peters in there. We've already seen John O'Korn. Up until yesterday, no, you haven't. You saw the Indiana game. You saw one bad game, and it wasn't a great game for Michigan as a whole. 20-10 victory at home. I mean, it still counts as a win, but we haven't seen John O'Korn, and John O'Korn showed us on yesterday against Purdue, Michigan winning that one 28-10. And I know, I mean, if you look at some of the stats, you look at some of the score, Michigan didn't really open this up until the second half. Purdue, I thought, hung tough. I knew Purdue was going to be a tough game. I thought, I predicted 31-24 in favor of Michigan. I thought we saw Purdue open up with trick plays. I thought a couple of those, Jeff Brown said that he was going to get creative, especially if it was a close game, and he did. And I remember the conversation that he and I had this past week, and a ton of respect for Harbaugh. I think that Brom really opened up his playbook. He did remark after the game that and I read this, obviously I wasn't there, that maybe Purdue was a little too confident. But I do think that that first half for the Purdue Boilermakers really showed what type of team these guys are. They just ran out of horsepower. They ran out of gas. Michigan, John O'Korn got the offense clicking, and that was really the difference. So Chris Evans finally had his coming out game since says Demario Vaughn. Sean Michael says Michigan at home versus MSU should be a cakewalk. I don't know if cakewalk, Sean, but I mean I've expected Michigan to win, and after last night I don't think there's any doubt. And Michigan State couldn't run the ball against Notre Dame. Spartans sure as hell aren't going to run the ball against the Wolverines. The Wolverines only allowed 30 rushing yards yesterday against the Boilers. 30. I mean, we're talking defense upon defense. Number one total ranked defense in the country. I want to thank Wes Weber. He tweeted me last night. He said once stats are adjusted, Michigan will have the number one total defense in the country. And again, Wes Weber, he's kind of like the official stat guy. I gotta get Wes a T-shirt or something. He contributes a lot to this podcast. So, Sean Michael, Michigan at home versus MSU should be a cakewalk. Not really. I can't say that, but I don't think there's any doubt that Michigan wins that game. Adam J. Perlaki says O'Korn ran the offense well. Yes, he did. Sean Michael said Michigan is off this week. He won't name a quarterback until game day versus MSU. Don't be foolish. Gabe Callender, that was in response. Gabe Callender wanted to know, will Harbaugh announce a quarterback starter? Unless it's a long-term injury for Wilton, which I don't think it is. It sounds like it's a soft tissue injury. I can't see it. I mean, you guys know what Jim Harbaugh will and won't address, and especially with an injury, I don't think he's going to give any specifics. I mean, last year, not a lot of specifics with Wilton Spate's injury. So, Will Goddard said, if Spate is our quarterback, there is no cakewalk. I don't think it, even if John's a quarterback, it's not going to be a cakewalk against Michigan State. I don't think that. There is something there with Michigan State. There is a little bit of offensive firepower, but at the same time, you weigh it against Michigan's defense, and does it even matter? Can't say that it does. Will Goddard, because I believe if Wilton Spate's healthy, he is the quarterback, guys. I mean, he was tabbed the starter. He was number one. And again, going back to the Brandon Peters conversation, I know everybody wanted to see Brandon. Tell me Brandon Peters would have done what John O'Korn did yesterday. John O'Korn was fantastic. And again, I contend that John looked better than Wilton has at any stretch of this year yesterday. And you got to take in consideration, road win. It was road win. It was very hot. I think the on-the-field time, I was listening to it on the radio as I was driving to East Lansing. I think Brandy said the on-the-field temperature was like 101 or 102 degrees. I mean, so you factor in those conditions, the road, Purdue coming off a big road win at Missouri, 35-3, feeling really good about itself. I think you have to tip your cap to John O'Korn. I think that you have to respect the job that he did as a quarterback. There's no other way around that. Sean Michael. Sean's active today. Sean, how's everything going, man? Everything go okay for you? I know that it was a scary kind of, about 10 days with all the hurricanes there. Hopefully everything's settled and you can get back to normal. But to your comment, Purdue had nothing but trick plays and quarterback rollouts and passbacks. And again, Brown wanted to get creative. He knew that he could not go pound for pound with Michigan. It just wasn't gonna happen. He told me that himself. There was no way that Purdue was gonna go pound for pound with Michigan. He had to try something. Sean Michael says Michigan's a 15-point favorite at home versus MSU. That makes sense. But again, I mean, have these past two games against Michigan State been a cakewalk? I thought last year Michigan goes into East Lansing and just blasts them. I mean, it got decisive near the end. The year before, in 2015, I know that a lot of Michigan fans don't like to remember that. But, I mean, that was a game, too, that I thought that Michigan was very much capable of winning. It was a game that Michigan had won until the botched punt. So, to say a cakewalk, I can't necessarily agree with that. Because I think Michigan was, 20 plus point favorites going into East Lansing last year? Weren't they? I want to say they were like 22 points maybe. Snap reaction, though, and Sean Michael's very good at these, so Sean, I'll humor you on this. Snap reaction based off what we saw Saturday, Michigan at Purdue. Saturday, Michigan State versus Notre Dame. Then, I mean, okay, if you want to base it off that one thing, I'll give you that, Sean. DeMario Vaughn says, Don Brown, you mastermind. Absolutely, DeMario. Don Brown's the best defensive coordinator in college football, and I don't think you cannot debate that. You just can't. Michael Loriano says LJ Scott is a little better than anything Purdue had to offer. I mean, LJ Scott, that fumble, ball security has been an issue for LJ. It's been an issue for Michigan State all year. Michigan State hadn't given up any rushing touchdowns. There was a fumble recovery. Tackling's been an issue. I mean, Darius Phillips took 100 yards for Western Michigan. I mean, Broncos lost 28-14, but it's those type of things. I've talked to Matt Morrissey last night about it. He's their starting free safety. And he said sometimes it's leverage, sometimes it's just not finishing. Again, that piece will be on FanRag Sports today. Check it out at fanragsports.com, at fanrag_u, and at FanRag Sports on Twitter. And again, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Anybody else but Sean Michael? Sean, okay, I have to read this. I have to read this one. Sean says, Spade is obviously done. I don't know why else they would play Peters. Sean, where are you getting your information? I don't know if Spade's done. And again, this is a soft tissue injury. I've been complaining, and I tweeted this, I still have like a pinched nerve, some kind of right in here. Baseball and sleeping wrong. And I tweeted yesterday after seeing that hit from Eddie Wilson, and Eddie's from Pontiac. He went to West Bloomfield. And he's like 6'4", 295. I mean, he's a big dude. And I saw the way that he fell on Wilton, and that just looked like that looked pretty painful. And I heard it on the radio. I didn't see it live. I heard it on the radio, and Brandy was saying that Wilton was laying on the ground. He had his legs spread. Definitely a lot of force to come down on your neck. I don't know that it's not a concussion. They said that. They made that clear. But I don't know the specifics of the injury right now and, how long that he'll be out. So with the bye week, obviously that's going to help him get a little bit healthier. At the same time, with the bye week too, if you're John O'Korn, you want to play this Saturday. I mean, you're coming off. It wasn't as great as game career-wise, in terms of statistics, but it may have been as great as performance. Really, if you look at everything. I mean, I know that he threw for 3,000 yards at Houston, and that's long ago. That's water under the bridge. Look what he did yesterday. Backup quarterback came in and commanded the offense, and if I'm John O'Korn, I want to play right now. I mean, if I'm O'Korn, I'm saying bring on Michigan State, bring on everybody right now. I'm ready because he's got to be flying super high and justifiably so. O'Korn was pretty good. Big Bubba Blue says defense was phenomenal except for that one drive. Gabe Callender says Devin Bush covers every square inch of the field, always around the play. I think Devin Bush, if he's not top 5 linebacker in the country, tell me 5 guys who are better. That's the way I look at Devin Bush. Devin Bush is an animal, in a good way. Really nice guy too. Like I said, I don't know. Some of you guys listen all the time and read all the time. Some of you are in and out. I had the opportunity to sit with Devin Bush. I met his dad. Sat around with Josh Uche, Josh Metellus, Devin Gill, all 4 of those guys. Real close Florida guys, real friendly. Devin Bush especially. I remember after the Air Force game, as a matter of fact, he was sitting on the stairs outside of the press conference room, and he and I had just a quick brief chat. Hey, how you doing? That sort of thing. Devin, mild-mannered, I guess, in person a little bit. He's one of those guys, you meet him, and you're like, oh, what a nice guy. And then you see him play football, and you're like, he's a monster. Andrew Pearson Thompson says, if that's the case, Spate still being starter, John should at least be rewarded with a start just to see how he does. And maybe, I mean, what is Jim Harbaugh believes in a meritocracy, right? But, I mean, I think that Wilton Spate has far and above earned the starting role. Just heads and shoulders. I can't see a switch. If he's healthy, I think that he will be the starter against Michigan State. Sean Michael says Harbaugh with 2 weeks off to play, MSU at home, and MSU will lose at Iowa. Iowa's at Michigan State next weekend, Sean, Saturday. Possible loss, yeah. And again, look at how big these next 2 games are really going to shape Michigan State's season. I thought that, I mean, with Notre Dame, obviously the rivalry, prime time, that's a big one for momentum. But your Big Ten opener, and then you get Michigan. So these next 2 weeks are going to be pretty telling for Michigan State. And based on what I saw Saturday night, I mean, bowl eligibility has got to, and I've been saying this at spring and summer. I think the bowl eligibility is got to be the number one goal for Michigan State. A lot of people got kind of high on them after a 2-0 start, and I tweeted out the other day that Michigan State had the number 3 ranked total defense. Michigan had the number 5. And I don't know if any of you guys responded to that tweet, but Michigan fans freaked out. It was blasphemous to say, I'm getting church on Sunday morning. It was blasphemous for anyone to say that Michigan State had anything better than Michigan. And I just tweeted a stat. I wasn't comparing defenses. I wasn't anything of the sort. There is no comparison. But I just thought it was odd. And for that, a lot of people, I liked Brian Lewerke. I like what Brian's done. I still like a little bit of what he did against Notre Dame. But I think people got a little high on Michigan State. And as you guys know, I'm not really a jump to conclusions kind of guy. I want to see a little bit. And I saw what I think is going to be, at best, a 6-6 team. 7-5 if something, some kind of magic. But bowl eligibility is number 1 for Michigan State. In the meantime, Michigan's two wins away. Second 4-0 start under Jim Harbaugh. Like I said, I think the Michigan beats Michigan State. I'm excited to go to Wisconsin and Penn State. So those are the 2 games that I'm really geeked up for. Big Bubble Blue says, yeah, but MSU last year scored in garbage minutes. Yeah, and I mean, but it wasn't a blowout. I mean, Michigan had control of that game, but at the same time, it wasn't. I was expecting Michigan go in there, and based on offensive stuff that we had seen against Hawaii, and earlier in the year, I thought Michigan would go in there, and this is, a 45-20 game, 45-14, something like that. Sean Michael says MSU secondary might be the worst in the conference. They did not look good last night at all. And just to go over some stats real quick, Brandon Wimbush, 14-20 for 173 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he didn't really just demolish them, but if you look at Josh Adams that's rushing. Receiving, St. Brown, I cannot say his first name. Don't even ask me to. I'll try. If anybody can do it, let me know. I'll try. But St. Brown, 4 catches for 61 yards along a 40. Claypool, 4 for 56 along a 27. Smythe, their tight end, Durham Smythe, I thought that he made a fantastic grab. Really, really nice catch. Maybe the best catch from any tight end that day. I know it's kind of focusing it, but it was a pretty nice catch for 21 yards. And let me see. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, they spread the ball around a little bit. 7 receivers, 173 yards total passing, but rushing, I mean, Notre Dame 182 on the ground. Josh Adams was pretty effective, 9 carries for 56 yards. Wimbush had 8 carries for 52 yards, and he had the 16-yard touchdown in the first quarter. So, I mean, you factor in all that stuff. Michigan State dug it. Michigan State got in a hole and just couldn't dig itself out. Darkman1212, Iowa's pissed about the way they lost Saturday night. Michigan State has their handful the next 2 weeks. I could not agree more, Darkman. How mad is Iowa right now? How mad is Iowa? Great point, Darkman. Thank you. Sean Michael. It's the Sean Michael Sunday morning show, ladies and gentlemen. Watching MSU last night, I see no way Lewerke can read a complicated defense and throw the ball. No chance they run the ball anywhere. Well, I mean, nobody's going to run the ball against Michigan. I mean, they might get a little something going against Iowa. I still think LJ Scott is one of the better running backs in the Big Ten. He has not shown that today. I think he had the previous 2 years, but ball security is huge. I mean, LJ scores that touchdown, we might be talking about a slightly different game. If not a close loss, I mean, on paper, and I wrote this, on paper, Michigan State won this game. On the scoreboard, it didn't, and that's what matters most. So, Andrew Pearson Thompson, Big Bubble Blue says, how come Purdue had so much hype about their quarterback David Bluff and he played like 5 snaps? I kind of hyped him up a little bit going in. I thought that he was a pretty good quarterback. He had some good numbers from last year. I think that they had to get a little bit tricky, and their trick guy Elijah Sindelar. Yeah, Bluff was 5 for 13 for 32 yards. Sindelar was 7 of 16 for 103 and a touchdown. Even Jackson Anthrop rather completed a pass for 24 yards. So yeah, it was not the I expected to see a little bit more through the air from Purdue. Sean Michael says, D'Antonio another 3-4 win season, yet he gets no criticism. I don't think that. Well, what type of criticism, Sean? I mean, he only had a Big Ten record, winning 10 or more games in 5 to 6 years. He was made the college football playoff, won a Rose Bowl, won a Cotton Bowl. Basically, picked up, I think, the direction that Michigan State football was going under Nick Saban in the late 90s, 95 to 99. And, I mean, to criticize him, I think that he was criticized unfairly and harshly for the sexual assault situations. I think that D'Antonio has been criticized. But, I mean, what type of other if you want to suggest hot seat for Mark D'Antonio, that's not even a conversation. Sean Michael says, D'Antonio can't recruit. His only success was because Michigan couldn't win. Now that Harbaugh has arrived, he has destroyed recruiting for them. I agree that Harbaugh's arrival has now made recruiting a lot more difficult, especially in-state recruiting for Michigan State. To say that D'Antonio can't recruit, I don't believe that to be true, Sean, and neither do you. Look at all the guys, 2- and 3-star guys that he turned into stars, and I mean, couple of them, Le'Veon Bell, one of the best running backs in the NFL. I mean, Darqueze Dennard, Isaiah Lewis, those guys, Trey Waynes, all those guys, weren't highly ranked. They were developed. So he can recruit. He could develop. But I do agree that Harbaugh's presence in Michigan is and winning. And you factor in last year, 3-9, 38-18 lost to Notre Dame, which kind of foreshadows, like I said, at best a 6-6, 7-5 season for Michigan State. That's not recruiting. Those are players he made great. In the last 3 years, who has it developed? He didn't develop Malik McDowell. Well, it's still good recruiting. You're going out and getting diamonds in the rough, right? I mean, didn't Jim Harbaugh do a great job and his staff by finding Josh Metellus? Josh Metellus was a 2-star. Yes, he's developed, but they were smart enough to realize when they recruited this kid, this is what he can be. So I'm not going to say that Mark D'Antonio can't recruit. He recruits differently than Harbaugh. To even really compare them other than, in-state, I don't really see there's... I mean, that's going to be a clear advantage. And Sean, actually, to your point, I mean, Malik McDowell really... I think Malik just didn't really do what he was supposed to be. Yeah, Malik, yes, Andrew, Malik was a 5-star recruit. It's one of the biggest recruits D'Antonio ever got. And then if you look at the 4 that were dismissed, too, I mean, although those guys were, I mean, Donnie Corley was pretty highly ranked. Demetric Vance was a highly ranked defensive back. Josh King, I mean, he had a pretty good class in 2016 until those 4 guys, got involved in the sexual assault thing. So, and I don't want to rehash all that stuff, but at the same time, I mean, you can't deny it. So, but yeah, guys, if you have any questions, we're going on 24 minutes. I know everybody here probably got fantasy football, going to be watching an NFL game, that sort of thing. I'm going to be doing some housework. Sean Mike wants to know, so who does MSU have going forward that you would deem an elite player? Well, that's a different conversation, Sean. I don't think right now that Michigan State really has a guy that I could say is an elite player. Other than like a lineman. Brian Allen, maybe. I mean, LJ Scott has the potential to be an elite running back. But no, Michigan State doesn't have elite, anybody I could say that look elite. You look at Michigan, they have probably, 20? I mean, that is possible. That's possible. Michigan has a lot. Devin Bush is elite in my book. Maurice Hurst is elite. Rashawn Gary is elite. let's go down the list. I think Tyree Kinnell has a chance to be elite. I think he might be all Big Ten guy this year. Josh Metellus has had a hell of a year. And finally, we saw some tight end action, right? Sean McCune. I've been telling you guys, Sean McCune is the guy. Sean McCune is that guy. Zach Gentry is a surprise player to me. He really is. I was wrong on Zach. I was wrong about Ambry Thomas. I did not envision Zach Gentry having a role like this, and considering Michigan had Tyrone Wheatley Jr. already in there, Ian Bunting, there were guys ahead of Gentry, and Sean McCune obviously this year he was the #1 tight end through camp. So how good can Michigan's offense be with the continued use of these tight ends? I want to know that. Well, it's a rhetorical. I know the answer to the question. Michael Loriano says, still no Wheatley catching balls for Michigan. Gentry's been a pleasant surprise. Absolutely. And if you want to talk about an elite red zone weapon, I think Zach Gentry has the potential to be such a thing. Right now, Sean Michael says, right now, does Purdue and Maryland have a better future than MSU? Not an outrageous statement. I think Purdue's got a pretty bright future. I like Maryland too. DJ Durkin's doing a great job there. But this is a whole another conversation, I think. Big Bubble Blue says, if you think about it, Michigan got some pretty lucky calls yesterday. Gabe Callender says, Ambry has played well on special teams. And Gabe, yeah, he's gotten in at corner. But Ambry was a guy I really thought was going to redshirt, man. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, sometimes I feel like I'm right on the real big stuff because I have to be. I'm not good, I don't want to be wrong on that. But when it comes to, like projections and stuff like that, yeah, I thought that Ambry would be a guy that they would consider redshirting. They said that, they want him to bulk up a little bit. And, he's playing very well. I think Nate Shanley's playing well on special teams. And look at Nate getting in there yesterday. What did Nate end up with? He had 2 catches for 29 yards. Targeted 5 times. I'll go through Michigan's receiving stats real quick. Sean McCune, 5 catches for 82. Zach Gentry, and Sean was 5 for 5. And like I said, if you want to talk about a reliable option, a guy who's going to be money, Sean McCune, I don't know if Sean's dropped a pass this year. Actually, I'd have to go through the game logs, but again, that Florida game when Wilton Spate came out second half and boom, 2 quick ones to McCune to get a little bit of chemistry going, mojo, whatever you want to call it. Sean McCune's had some really reliable hands. Zach Gentry, 3 catches for 48 yards and a touchdown. Zach was targeted 4 times. Grant Perry, 3 for 39. He was targeted 5 times. Nate Shanley, 2 for 29. He was targeted twice. Chris Evans, 2 for 28. He was targeted twice. Kakoa Crawford, 2 for 13. He was targeted 3 times. Karan had 1 for 22 and targeted once. Henry Poggi, 1 for 11, targeted once. DPJ, 1 for 8. He was targeted twice. And Mo Ways got in there, guys. Mo Ways was targeted once, had 1 catch for 4 yards. And that's 10 receivers. I talked about how Notre Dame spread the ball a little bit against Michigan State. Michigan really spread the ball. We saw expanded offense, I think. I don't know how much in terms of the difference in play calling other than tight ends were more involved. So, yeah, Kareem Walker, guys. Let's look at Kareem. I'll look at Kareem's stats real quick because he had 3 carries for 7 yards. And he was Jim Harbaugh said he was injured about a week ago. And I know there was all kinds of wild speculation. What's wrong with Kareem? And when Ty Isaac's getting all the carries, what's wrong with Chris Evans, guys? 14 carries for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what's wrong with Chris Evans. Whoever has a hot hand is going to be the primary ball carrier. That's just how it's gonna go. Ty Isaac looks like the clear #1 for a little bit. Chris Evans has 14 carries for 97 yards. Huge game, one of the best of his career. On the road, Big Ten opener. Behind an offensive line that just has not been good this year. Jeremy Turner says that Pashan O'Corn thread the needle to Sean was so beautiful. So happy to see that from our guys. And absolutely, guys, tell me that John O'Corn did not just look great on the run. His ability to extend plays yesterday was just beyond impressive to me. Sean Michael says he feels like Walker has the highest ceiling at HB. Big Bubble Blue running back rotation was great yesterday due to all the heat. Andrew Pearson Thompson says, but I think they would protect Ty a little bit because of injury. And Ty was banged up against Air Force. We know that. Robert Cialone says, I'm sorry, Adam, but I've been telling you about Spade. I hope Harbaugh doesn't play him for the rest of the season. Well, I mean, he got injured. Not like he's the starting quarterback. Unless he's not healthy. Or unless John O'Korn continues to do what he's doing right now. But John O'Korn, I thought, did his job as a backup. I mean, and again, that's kind of their mentality. I remember talking, to Rashawn Gary about the too deep on the D-line, and I believe this probably extends team-wide. They don't really look at starters. It's everybody's starter caliber. John's starter caliber. I mean, John is a good quarterback. And again, be honest. Let me get a show of hands. Show me some emojis or something. Who was like, Brandon Peters needs to be the next guy if something happens to Spade. We've already seen John O'Korn. And don't lie. Let's be honest, guys. Tell me right now. Go ahead and admit it. Justin Roberts. Thank you, Justin, for being honest. Did they release a... Big Bubble Blue says, definitely me. Justin Roberts said, did they release official injury statement yet? Just no timeline for return, Justin. Robert Cialone, Jeremy Turner... There you guys go. Thanks. When Spate recovers, this comes from Gold Wolverines. When Spate recovers, if O'Korn keeps doing well, he's going to be the starter. Well, yeah. I mean, if John O'Korn keeps playing like this, Wilton gets healthy, and Wilton can't match what John's doing, then yes, logic would say that John O'Korn would be the quarterback. All right, guys, we're going on 32 minutes. It's 12:12. I know everybody wants to get to. I don't know if you're watching the Lions and the Falcons today or whatever you're doing. There's a big game. Giants. I don't know. I have one friend I know was watching the Giants and Eagles game, Libby. So she's probably a little bit upset about that Lions game. And real quick, guys, want to wish Mike Sobrowski. He's a loyal listener, follower, reader. He wanted to watch today, but he and his wife are going on a spa day. It's her birthday. They're both going to get like manicures and stuff. So bravo, Mike, for being the good husband on your wife's birthday. I want to thank everybody for watching. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. You can read all of my Michigan stuff and Michigan State if that's your cup of tea. Primarily Michigan though. At fanragsports.com. Follow on Twitter at fanrag_u at fanragsports. And at Mitten Sports MI, that's the podcast. Find us on Facebook, Sports in the Mitten. We're on Blog Talk Radio, the FanRag Sports Radio channel, iTunes, Google Play, all kinds of stuff. Again, guys, the live stream's been getting really nice viewership, the downloads, everything. So really appreciate it. Great conversation as always. And before I let everyone go, I want to thank Tim McKeith at Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor for keeping me fed through the season. And I am looking forward to tomorrow's press conference. I'll probably stop in Spots and grab a sandwich. And again, guys, if you didn't get the chance to read I said this last week. I'll leave you on this. I had the opportunity to watch Jimmy the Barber, James Price, at Coach and 4 on State Street in Ann Arbor, and I was just going to meet him initially and have him tell me the story behind how Quinn Nordine, how he got hooked up with Quinn Nordine. And he was like, well, as a matter of fact, Quinn's coming in today for a trim. Do you want to watch? And I said, well, let me call Michigan because we have to get clearance. We can't, as media members, if I see a guy out on the street or something like that, if I'm in Ann Arbor, I can't just go up and talk to him. I see guys come in spots all the time. Anything, if they recognize me or recognize them, maybe a head nod, hey, how you doing? But you can't interview them. You can't talk to them. That's just not possible. It's against the rules. So anyway, I called Michigan. I said, hey, is it cool if I watch Quinn get his haircut? I'll just talk to him about his haircut. And they said, yes, go ahead and do it. Just no live streaming. And I said, you got it. So I sat in the barber shop while we were waiting for Jimmy to finish with his previous client. And Quinn was sitting across from me. We were watching Major League. And then he got in the chair. Jimmy got him all straightened up with the triangular sections taken out, and there you had it. It was Wild Thing, Quinn Nordine. Posted pictures too, and I got a ton of retweets and follows. So if you get a chance, long story that I'm explaining here, but read that, read it. It's a lot more than just about a haircut. So be sure to read that on FanRag Sports. Again, thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Good luck to your fantasy football teams. I'll have updates tomorrow from Jim Harbaugh's Monday press conference, and as well throughout the week, player availability and coordinator availability as the Wolverines rest up during this bye week and prepare for in-state battle with Michigan State. And again, Michigan State hosting Iowa this Saturday. Must win, must win, must win if you're the Spartans. I'm Adam. Thanks for watching, guys.